Welcome to HolyGrail Algo, simplified trading. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. HolyGrail Algo is not liable for any loss or damages which may result directly or indirectly from such content.
Hello and welcome to the HolyGrail Algo intro video. Today I'm going to go ahead and show you how to set this up on tradingview.com, and I'll also show you and explain basically what this indicator can do and how we've been able to backtest it to show that this indicator is successful. We actually are able to test these and make sure that they are at least 70% or more accurate. So that's a pretty good win rate when most traders consider 51% to be good. So the first thing that you need to do is go to tradingview.com. You're going to go ahead and you need to sign up for an account if you don't already have one. You can do that in this top right corner here. We do recommend that you get the data and the pro plan through TradingView so that way you can use our indicator to its fullest ability. So once you're on tradingview.com, you're going to go ahead and you need to select chart. From chart, it's actually by default going to go ahead and load a chart that looks pretty much like this. It's going to have a white background. It's going to have this grid here. And we don't like that for our indicator, so we actually want to go and right click in the open area. You'll select color theme. You're going to go ahead and change that to dark. And you'll see that we still have the grid, and actually this is kind of a gray background. We actually like a black background. So you're going to go ahead and right click again in the open area, and this time you're going to click settings. From settings, there's a few things that we can change here. This is on the symbol, you're going to want to leave pretty much all of that the same. Under status line, there's some things that we can go ahead and get rid of here if you don't want them, like indicator title. Typically we do remove that. And indicator values, we do usually remove that, but we leave the open, high, low, close. Bar change value, which is this here, you can see the percentage down. You can see the open market status, whether this is actually open right here. And then it tells you the symbol here. If you don't want any of that, you can just uncheck it and it'll all go away. Our indicator will tell you what you're on, by the way, because we do have a dashboard. But typically I leave all that here, but I am going to go ahead and go to appearance here. And the first thing I'm going to do is change the background. We're going to change it from gradient to solid. And then I'm going to go ahead and select the darkest color, this darkest black here. So we do have this nice black background. Then you see the vert and grid lines. I'm going to go ahead and change those both to black. Okay, and now that's looking more like how we like it. And this is actually something you can save here. You can save as, and this will save it as a template. So you won't have to set this up every time you make a new chart. You can label it whatever you want. The one that we have this set up for is day trade. Once you get that done, you go ahead and click OK. And this is how your screen should look now. We don't have the indicator on yet, but what we need to do is go up here where it says indicators. We're going to go ahead and click on that. And then invite only scripts. You're going to click on HolyGrail Algo and HolyGrail Strength. Those are going to go ahead and load for us. And if you do need more assistance with setting this up, we do have support. We offer it through our website. You can go to calendly.com/HolyGrail Algo. You can also contact us via Facebook or through our Discord. But this is basically how it's going to look. You do see this dashboard here. It tells you what session we're in, what time frame we're on. So we're on 1 minute candles right now. It's going to tell you the condition that this trade is in. So this trade is long, which means that it basically indicated that we need to buy this. It indicated that at 6:43 on this chart. So it said that if you went long, it closed at 43.7625. Typically, a lot of people will get in at the close of this, or they'll use some levels on this one, and they both coincide. So you'd try and get in basically right at that 43.7625 or a couple ticks higher just to make sure it went through it. Had very little pullback on this next candle here. It only went to, let's see, so if you were to get in at 36.75, the low of this candle right here was 43.76. So you'd only have one tick down drawdown, which on the ES would only be 1250. So that's not much at all before it ended up pushing up to a high of 43.79. The ES trades at $50 per point, so you'd have a pretty nice trade on your hands there at almost 3 full points. Now that's not the only thing that we use to get into a trade, just this long and short. And here is a short here. You can see that it occurred at 627. That was another good short there as well. But we also like to use this down here, which is the HolyGrail strength. We have this, which is our MACD, and tells us if it's above this 0 line, and we're seeing green on our band, that this does have momentum to the upside. So you would take a look at this long, you would take a look at your MACD. The MACD looks like it would have been in a pretty good position to take this. You'd also look over here to the right. This is your RSI. Basically, you look at that to see if the item that you're selling or the commodity is oversold or overbought. You'll see that if it is overbought on a long, essentially this RSI will get into usually about the 80s on the indices is what we technically have it set for, but that is something that you can change. By default, it looks like it's 70-30. On indices, actually, you'd probably want about 80-20. So that's pretty easy to change. Basically, you just need to go ahead and double click on the indicator that you're wanting to change. So I'll just show you here. Just double click. And that pulls up this box where you can change the settings, the style. So if you don't want to show certain things, you can turn that all off. Essentially, you could make this invisible if you wanted to by turning everything all off. But by default, you shouldn't need to change anything on this or on the HolyGrail Algo. Depending on what you're trading, you may have to, on the RSI, change the overbought and oversold. But that's about it. And by default, we do have it set on generally the best one. Sometimes it does require a little bit of tweaking, though. For the actual HolyGrail indicator itself, the way to access this, there's a couple ways to access these settings. I like to just double click on the dashboard. That's going to pull up all the settings for me. If there's anything I want to change, I can do that here. Usually what I do like to do is actually move this dashboard here that I just clicked on to the bottom left to kind of get it out of my way so I can see the candles a little bit better. And I like to change the size to make it a little bit smaller. Okay, so we've pretty much got that set up. Now, you're probably asking, what does all of this mean? Because there is a lot to it. And I briefly explained, yes, this is a long. This is indicating that you need to buy it. And this is a sell here. This is indicating that you need to sell the commodity. The commodity that we have is the ES Mini S&P 500 futures. The ticker value is ESM because this is the June contract. And it's got the 2022 because that's the year that we're trading. You can trade into the future on these, hence the name futures. But this indicator does work with stocks, works with Forex, works with crypto as well. Pretty much anything that has candles with the open, high, low, and close, this can produce a alert on. So if you did want to change this to, let's say, a stock, you can do that pretty easily on TradingView. You'll go ahead and just click up here in the left where you actually see the ticker symbol. And let's say we're looking for, let's look at Netflix. So we need to change it to stock. Here's Netflix right here. Now I know that they just had their earnings the other day. So they are pushing up a little bit from that. And on the bottom here, if you click and drag this where you see the time, you can actually pretty well zoom out. If you're on auto, it'll scale everything for you. If you're not on auto, it will not. And you kind of have to click on the time and then also this price here. If you click on that, you can zoom in as well. So this is Netflix. You see that we've had some pretty good calls on it. There's a short here with a little bit of a pullback, but it didn't end up going short again. So that was a good trade. We had a very nice long here. So it's telling you to buy. So if you use this level here, you would have had a little bit of pullback, but not very much. And then it really took off. So it indicated on this long that you would get in about, let's see, the close was 216.19. If you're able to trail this all the way up, it went to 222.45, and that's just on one contract that you'd get that difference. So if you had maybe an option or a few hundred shares of this, that would have been a very good move to buy. And even this sell here was another good move to short for, looks like around $1 there. So once you've got the chart pretty well how you like it, you've got the symbol that you want, you've got the time frame that you want, and they have multiple time frames here. Let's switch it to maybe a 5-minute real quick just to show you. And we do like to have these on the regular candles. Some people do trade these on Heek and Ashy. You can change that right next to the time frame here. I'm going to put it back on candles. And I'm going to go ahead and save this chart now. You'll see where it says unnamed up here. If you go ahead and click on the little drop down arrow, you can rename this. We'll name it Netflix. 5-minute chart. HolyGrail Algo. We'll hit save. And that is saved. Now if you want to have multiple charts, you actually can go ahead and right to the left of where you save this, you'll click select layout. And let's say we want 4 charts at once. You can go ahead and change that, and you can actually set this up on all different time frames on each one of these windows here. You can even change it to a different symbol. So let's say I've got Netflix and then I want maybe AMD. I'll go ahead and select the symbol on that. So that's going to change this one to AMD. And let's say we want Apple. So there's Apple and maybe Tesla. So there, right on this one page, we've got our Netflix in the top left, our AMD top right, our Apple in the bottom left, and our Tesla in the bottom right. And then again, just to make sure that this all saves, there's a few ways you can do this. You can actually click the drop down and hit save, or basically where you see this symbol name here that you labeled the chart as, you can just click on that and it will save, or Control S is a shortcut on the keyboard. Once you've got this to your liking though, you can go ahead and make a copy of it, so that way you don't have to continuously make new charts. So this will say that it's basically the Netflix 5-minute chart, copy. And then you'll want to go ahead and rename it to whatever you change it to, but maybe you want this one to be some crypto. So BTC, Bitcoin, USD. We'll use Coinbase for the exchange. So we changed that one here to Bitcoin. Now something pretty cool, if you want to change this and make sure that they all change together, you can go ahead and sync in layout the symbol on whichever one you have clicked. So I changed this, just this top left one, to Bitcoin. And then you go up here to where your select layout is. And for sync, I synced the symbol. And it changed all the other ones to Bitcoin for me. Now what's cool about this is, say I have this one on a 5-minute chart, but I want to go ahead and monitor maybe the 15-minute. So on the top right, I'll change that one to we'll change that to 15. We'll change this bottom left to maybe an hour. And then we'll change this bottom right to, let's say, a day. So now all on one screen, you can go ahead and monitor all of this. You've got your dashboard here, so it's telling you the condition. You know that your 5-minute is in a long condition. You know that your 15-minute is in a short. Your 1 hour is in a short, and your 1 day is in a short. So this little push up here that we're seeing It either could be maybe the beginning of a push-up, or it could just be a little push-up to go lower. Based on these indicators here, it looks like it's probably a push-up to go lower, especially looking at these levels it's got to get through. It's really struggling. And these levels here are very important too. As I said, you can use them to base your entry, but why would you want to do that? So if they're close enough to the alert, you can actually pretty well use this as support or resistance for your trade. And that's what these lines are. These are support and resistance. So if you were maybe to get a long here at this 4509 here, this level is going to be your support if you're going long. It should essentially protect you from this trade shorting off. This level here at the 46.99.99 is going to be your resistance to the upside, because you're long, you're buying, you want this price to go up. This is going to be where you're going to meet resistance, and you might struggle to go through. And you could pull back to this level, but again, this would still be your support in a long trade. So you would look for it to bounce off of this level to the upside. Now, since this is in a short, these levels that we're getting through to the downside are its resistance. So this is where you're going to get pushback. As you try and come down, you're going to get push up. That's why it's resistance. But these levels here are your support, where you're basically going to push down. And you can pretty well see that that's happened. It tried to come through this level, it met resistance, it pushed up, and then here it got support and it pushed back down. It pushed back to the next level to test that one. So there's a lot of resistance here because it wicked down, or it came all the way down here with the body and then it ended up wicking back up. And now this essentially is the new support to stop it from going higher. So that's one of the features that this has. It's a pretty good feature. If you can get this very close to your alert, you're almost always guaranteed an excellent trade. I say almost always because this isn't perfect. You know, nothing is perfect. But we do actually have an exclusive back tester that we use for all of our symbols to confirm that these alerts are good. And really, we don't like to deploy anything unless it's above 70%. And really, we actually like to look at 80% or higher. Now, we can actually go ahead and show you some of these back tests too. I'll go ahead and show that to you right here. The first one I'll go ahead and show you is of the ES, since we were looking at that a little bit. And this is on our website too. This is the 15-minute ES that we've back tested. It's at 92%, as you can see there, for about $2,200 of profit, $2,250. And you can see these are all the alerts that we've tested. And there's a bad one right there, but for the majority, most of these are good. As I said, 92%. A lot of these are huge. 54.75, 40, 22. And this is the drawdown here of the first time that you could potentially get profit on that column. Scroll up here and you can see all the days that it filters. It shows you which days are good and bad. Let's go and look at the stock here. We do have one from Microsoft, and we're still adding to these. We're actually converting them from our private back tester so we can display these to everybody. But I mean, look at this. This is 83% on there, $16.20, and that's just for one contract. Here you're seeing the average time in, and this is the average drawdown. This is all displayed very easily in front of you, so you can see all this. If there's some you want pulled that we don't have yet, you can put in a request for us. But we have quite a bit of them. We're just working on getting them all out there. But some of these, I mean, this indicator can catch some awesome moves here, and you can see it. We're going to show it to you. We're not wanting to hide it. And again, that's just HolyGrailAlgo.com. Okay, so you saw a couple of the back tests there, and you can see that most of those are, as I said, over 80% or higher. And then just real quickly, let me get back to a couple other things here on this chart. Some things that you can do if you want to actually zoom in on any specific chart once you have 4 up like I do. It's pretty easy. You just click on the chart you want, then you can go into the bottom right down here, and where it says toggle maximum chart, you can hit that, or on your keyboard if you just want a shortcut, you can hit Alt Enter, and it'll go ahead and maximize that specific chart that you're looking at so you can get a better look at it. And you can see here that we have broken through on our trend line. And these are built into the indicator as well. So you know that if you have a trend line that it's broken through, that's pretty much where it's almost kind of like a support or a resistance level. So you do want to be cautious about those. Let's see if I can find you a good example here. So here's where we get a long, and you can see it actually was trying to break down through this red trend line here to show that it was going to be in a downtrend. But actually this trend line acted as support and it bounced up. So off of this long, if you were to see that, you'd basically say, well, I've seen this try and go through this trend line multiple times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and it keeps rejecting. So that would pretty well tell you that this is more than likely going to be a good trade off of this alert. So you could take the alert at the close of this candle, and then to tell you to get out, you would probably be looking at either this level or you'd be looking at your MACD and RSI. If you see that your MACD starts to cross up after being green, then the momentum or the strength of the trade is actually starting to wane a little bit. And you can see that here as we push up. It does push up quite well, but then we print a pivot, which means that the direction is going to go ahead and pivot. And you can see that in the next few candles, it actually pulled back here. And as it's pulling back, our MACD is actually crossing up, which is this band, and it's getting into the gray zone, which probably the RSI was towards the 50% in that area. So it's iffy. It could go either way on something like this. Again, it's got this trend line though, so you'd think that you'd be safe, but it did break through it a little bit, and you actually see that you're starting to get some red on your MACD after it's crossed up, which is indicating the momentum is to the downside. Wasn't very long, and then it did go back to the gray zone. You see a little bit more green here. We're staying above this 0 level though on our MACD. When you're above the 0, that's a pretty good indication that if you are in an uptrend and that your MACD trend line is green, that it's going to be a good trade to take if you get the alert and the RSI isn't indicating that it's 70 or 80 above. And then just a touch on the dashboard. So you can see here, I've already showed you how to move it, but it does show you the session right now. We're in the London and New York session. The London session ends, I believe, about 11 and 11:30. Do have the time frame at 5 minutes here, which that'll change if you change this to a different chart. That is showing us again that we're in a long, and then it also shows us our nearest level, which is that support or resistance level, which is it's actually going to go ahead and be your resistance level if you're in a long. That's what that's telling you. And also if you're in a short, it's going to be the resistance as well. That would just be to the downside rather than the upside here at this 4642.57. And then below that on the dashboard, it does also show you the highest and lowest of the day. So that's the highest that the price has been to and the lowest that the price has been to. So that way you don't get caught in a trade maybe trying to go long at the high of the day when it's met a lot of resistance there and can't get through it. It helps you from kind of getting trapped in that. Now there is another feature here that we like with TradingView, which is to actually set up alerts for these indicators so you don't just have to be sitting and watching the screen all the time. And that's pretty easy to do. Speaking of alerts, we actually just had one that we already have. This is kind of how it pops up. You can get TradingView on your phone as well, so you can get an alert on your phone. It can email you. I'll go ahead and show you that real quick. So on this panel over here to the right, you'll see what looks like this alarm clock. That is the alerts. So there's no alerts for this chart right now, and the first way to do it if you don't have one is just click here, create alert. And the condition that we're going to select is the Holy Grail. And we need to know whether it is long or short. Those are the trades that I want to know about. So we'll go ahead, and the condition is Holy Grail long. Then we have some options here. If you only want it to tell you once, just set once per bar, which is every time it opens a new bar. If it's got an alert, it'll alert you once per bar close. This is the one that we like to do because we like to confirm that this actually is going long. If you do once per bar, it can go multiple bars without actually closing long. So if you're looking to jump in a trade, you could end up getting trapped if you do not wait for it to close, because sometimes they'll try and print and they don't print if they don't have enough momentum. So once you've got that set, there is an expiration time. We typically leave these open-ended, but if you only wanted this to go for maybe a month, you could set a specific date. And below that is where you can set the alert actions: notify on app, show pop-up, send email, a webhook. If you wanted to maybe send alerts to Discord, or you had some type of auto trader, you could set up a webhook. And then under more actions, you can select this to play a sound. You don't have to if you don't want that. And you can even have it send an email to a text. Below that's where you set the alert name. So we'll say BTC USD buy, because it's a long alert and it's telling us to buy. We'll hit create, and you'll see that over here to the right. And then if you want to go ahead and make a new alert, actually above this where you see the plus sign, create alert, or alternatively Control A on your keyboard. So on this one, we've already got the buy alert. We need a sell alert, so that way we know when it's changing directions. So we'll select HolyGrail for the condition. We'll select short, because that's telling you to sell it. Once per bar closed. However you want to get alerted. And go down to the alert name, BTC USD sell. And you can get more complicated with these. You can actually have it tell you the close price. If you use these placeholders, there's a lot of information out there. And TradingView is pretty good about making it available to you. So I've created that. And you can basically wait for these to trigger, which they will eventually. Or if you want to make sure that this does work, we can set this for BTC. It's the condition, which is just a chart essentially. We'll set it for less than. And then it lets you pick a value. So 4642. I'm only going to have this do once. I'll set it as video test. Show pop-up, notify on app. That's all that it should do. I guess it'll play a sound as well. And we'll go ahead and hit create. And there you go. As soon as I created that, it alerted me. And that did that because I said as long as this Bitcoin is less than 4642, alert me. And that's exactly what it did right away. So these alerts are very instant. So as soon as you get a short or a sell, which is what that means, or a long or a buy, you're going to get it instantly as long as you have these alerts set up on your computer. Now there is sometimes a little bit of a delay on phones. That just depends on how you actually have your phone pulling those notifications, though. You can set those up to get them instantly as well. But by default, that's something I actually had to change because mine were a few minutes delayed from what I'd actually get if I was sitting here on the computer. And as I said, we do have back-tested results. And again, that's at our website, HolyGrailAlgo.com. We are working on getting more of those out there for the public, but in the meantime, we do have a few samples. That's basically it for this video. I appreciate you watching it. I hope that you're able to use this indicator and make some money. Thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you for watching HolyGrail Algo. Make sure to like, subscribe, and drop us some comments.